أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، والحمد لله الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبو القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم ومبغضيهم وغاصبي حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ومناقبهم من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى لقاء يوم الدين. أما بعد، سلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. In the grand scheme of our existence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made arrangements for the development of human mind, humankind, in all aspects of his existence. As far as the creation is concerned, amongst so many things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, He has granted man the crown of being the best of his creation. The son of Adam enjoys that status of being the ashraful makhluq on this planet. This existence or this crown or this status has not been given to man just like that. There is a reason for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this human being, this son of Adam, this status, or has given him this crown. And that is because the son of Adam has the ability to think, has the ability to reason, has the ability to understand the phenomena that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented in many aspects of his existence. There is no restriction to a human being. There is no restriction to a human mind. As far as the spirit of inquiry is concerned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this human being as an inquisitive creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the reason for this inquisitiveness is for man, through this spirit of inquiry, to be able to discover the secrets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept for him. In many verses of Quran, you will see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invites man to ponder, invites man to think. When I say many verses, I will probably not exaggerate if I say that in every page you will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants man to think in one way or the other, directly or indirectly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inviting man to think, is inviting man towards the process of reflection, is inviting man to refine his thought process on a continuous basis. It is not something that one needs to do only once. The whole universe is an evolutionary process. We evolve with everything that is happening. How we eat has evolved from the past. The need has remained the same. The means has changed in all existences of our lives. There was a time the people used to eat leaves, or the tools that they used to hunt animals were different. The modern day way of hunting an animal or eating or slaughtering an animal or whatever the new tools are, the new tools have evolved. The need has remained the same, no matter where you go. When people needed to relieve themselves in the past, they used to dig a hole to relieve themselves. Today we have ceramic washrooms in which we sit. So the mode has changed, the need has remained the same. The hungry individual still is hungry, irrespective of what he ate in the past or what he eats today. So you will realize that we are continuously evolving. What we used to wear before, what we wear today, is all evolving as we go. exactly in the same manner, our human mind is one thing that is always in need of learning more. It is in need of understanding more. It is in need of reflecting. It is this mind that is making huge discoveries on this planet. Based on this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran Majid tells us to think about various issues. Sometimes He will tell us to think about a simple thing like a camel. And He will tell us in Quran to think about a camel, to look at a camel. Now one will probably wonder, what am I supposed to look at a camel? But there is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to reflect about. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Do they not see how a camel has been created? Allah puts this question. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ. Do they not reflect on how the heaven or the skies have been raised? وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. Do they not think, do they not see how this earth has been spread? So when we go and study this and reflect, we realize the whole process as to how this whole earth has evolved, how the camel has evolved from what it used to be, what it is. And therefore, when we look at the whole existence, you find that this human mind has taken huge strides, huge steps towards development. If we were to just sit down and say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing or is my shafi, shafi meaning that Allah is the one who cures me, there is no doubt about it. Allah says in Quran, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam says, وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. When I fall sick, it is He who cures me. If I was to take this verse literally and just sit back and not even go to the doctor, then I will probably invite wrath upon myself. It is not that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meant. Allah uses various agencies of His to function the role of His lordship across the entire universe. So He has created a mind that thinks about human anatomy. He created a mind that thinks and reflects. He created a mind that inquires. He created a mind that created vaccinations. He created a mind, all this for serving the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. If we had sat down and said, no, I fall sick, He is the one who is going to cure me, we would never have found many, many cures to many, many illnesses, many treatments to many illnesses. And you can widen this whole process in every existence, every aspect of our existence. So you will realize that we have to reflect, we have to think on a constant basis. Then in His rahmah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us how He created us. He created man. How He created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. So when we use the word 6, we sometimes may get lost in this letter or in this number 6 and think of 6. But it will not make sense if we look at this 6 in the way we understand 6. So we will realize that now in this part of the revelation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means something that I need to reflect upon. وَآيَةٌ لَهُمْ أَنَّا حَمَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ فِي الْفُلْكِ الْمَشْحُونِ وَآيَةٌ لَهُمُ اللَّيْلِ نَسْلَخُ مِنْهُ النَّهَارِ فَإِذَا هُمْ مُظْلِمُونَ وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ. All these things, some extremely sophisticated verses of astronomy spoken to the Bedouin 1400 years ago were spoken by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Holy Prophet, who was then telling them that this was the revelation that was revealed. Think about it. To the man who learnt this particular verse regarding the sun as to how it moves to its destination, or to the moon that has been created in phases, or regarding the night or how it outstrips the day. Think about this astronomical phenomena that is taking place, received by someone who was a Bedouin, and his perception at that time of this particular verse, which was extremely sophisticated, against someone who has now been able to discover a Hubble telescope, create it, and be able to see the black hole, or at least appreciate up to that. So you will see that there is a continuous evolutionary process in the verses of Quran. When I read it 500 years ago, it was different. When I read the same verse today, it has to have evolved in terms of my intellectual maturity, in terms of the human intellectual maturity, and therefore it will allow us to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this universe for. Keeping this in mind, this is the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then He created us. Through this organized religion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduced various issues to aid us to evolve, to develop. He revealed the verses of Quran. He gave them to the Holy Prophet of Islam. The supplications were given to us to develop us. The rituals were introduced in religion for the purposes of giving belonging or sense of belonging of an individual to the community. Prostrating towards Khana Kaaba by all Muslims across the globe in one single direction, doing one sajda, is a ritual that was introduced by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a purpose. Praying the salat was introduced for a purpose. Fasting, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامِ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting was prescribed for you, like it was prescribed for the people of the past. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And the end for fasting, the purpose, the end result, the final result in fasting must be God consciousness. So Allah is giving us this goal, and then He is giving us a ritual with it to be able to achieve this goal. Now, God consciousness can be, to us, who look at things ritually, or at least I, who look at things in an extremely ritual way, we think when we say it's taqwa, or we look at somebody who is muttaqi, we think that muttaqi means someone who is sitting seriously without smiling. Muttaqi is someone who has a mark on his forehead. Muttaqi is someone who doesn't smile ever. He just sits down, he doesn't laugh. That's our perception of the muttaqi. Allahu Akbar. That is nothing to do with God consciousness. There is a poet in Urdu who says, "Mere muh par meri daढ़ी ke izafe ko na dekh." He says, don't look at the length of the beard on my face. Mere muh par meri daढ़ी ke izafe ko na dekh. Khat ke mazmoon ko par, khat ke lifafe ko na dekh. He says, look at the content of the letter. Don't look at the envelope, the beautiful envelope in which this letter is. So when we look at someone who is muttaqi, we think taqwa means someone who has a long beard, who wears a particular type of dress. No, my dear fellow brothers and sisters. Taqwa is a state of being constantly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being God conscious. It is a state rather than an outward appearance. The fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, entered the mosque, and he found some people praying, and he saw a group of people who came in and sat next to the fourth Imam alayhi salam. And this, in their discussion, they pointed towards one particular individual. They said, "Ibn Rasulullah, that man, can you see that man?" Imam said, "Yes." He says, "That man, we envy him very much." Why do you envy him? We envy him because he has long qiyam. When he prays his salat, his qiyam is long. When he goes into ruku, he has a long ruku. He has a lengthy ruku. When he prostrates, he has a prolonged prostration. And every time we see him, he is like that. Imam smiled initially. And after smiling, he said, do you know him personally? They said, no, Ibn Rasulillah. He said, then you must look at this man. If he is the same outside, and then he presents himself like this here, then truly this man is praiseworthy. But it has to be consistent, and it has to be constant, that his God consciousness is not in the mosque alone. The God consciousness is continuously carrying on. So the ritual was introduced of salat, of saum, of all these things for a greater purpose. When we get lost within the ritual itself, we find that there is a state of stagnation. There is no further movement whatsoever towards anything else. And therefore, we find ourselves totally lost. Let us give one or two examples to this. We, as a Shia community, are one of the most fortunate communities on this planet. We have an extremely, extremely vibrant past. And we have an extremely inspirational future. Why do I say this? Our past is Karbala. No community has had a past like Karbala. And our future is Imam Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. So the past is Karbala. Someone very wisely said, كل يوم عاشوراء, كل يوم عاشوراء, كل أرض. Every day is Ashura. Every day is Karbala. And it was an extremely wise saying. Anyway, we have a historical aspect in Karbala. We have an inspirational aspect in Karbala. We have a prophecy of the Holy Prophet of Islam regarding the future of the Shia community. And we have many rituals that have been introduced in wait while we are in the state of intidhar for the 12th Imam Hazrat Hujjah salawatullahi wa salamu alayh. Our past is extremely vibrant, extremely vibrant. And so when the 4th Imam alayhi salam, after the event of Karbala, and this is one of the most important aspects of our Shia history. The Shia community, after the event of Karbala, after the 10th of Muharram 61 after Hijrah, was in a state of trauma, confusion, and chaos. Whether it was Medina, whether it was Karbala or Kufa, the Shia community was in the state of total chaos. There was nothing but confusion. No Imam has assumed the position of Imamat in more tragic circumstances than the 4th Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. For the first time when he realized that he was already the Imam, the 4th Imam. I mean, think about these circumstances. The first time that he realized that he already was the Imam is when he was told by his aunt to assist him in finding Imam Hussein. And he assisted Janab Zainab when she came together with him. And the first thing he saw was the beheaded head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam on a spearhead. And that is when he said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdillah. Peace be upon you, O my father. No Imam has assumed the position of Imamat in more tragic circumstances. The Shia community was in the state of confusion. Now this Imam was heavily chained. This Imam had huge chains on his feet. He had chains in his hand. This Imam was being whipped in public. This Imam was taken a captive. And then he was imprisoned in Sham. So the Shia community does not have a clue of what is happening. On one side, Yazid and his army and his people are frightening people. There is huge amount of hostility against the Shia community. On the other hand, the access to the Imam is gone. Nobody knows what is going to happen. Nobody knows who the Imam is. There was no communication like a cyber world that we have today, a click of a button and we know everything. So for the news to travel to Medina, for the news to travel to various places, it took a while. But then Imam was not accessible to the people. Anyway, after a year, and riwayat are various riwayat with regard to the time spent in the prison, but I am talking about, or I'm taking one of the riwayats that speaks about 1 year in prison, based on a riwayat of the Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, when she said, we saw the days of winter in the prison, and we also saw the days of summer in the prison. So based on that, let's assume that it was a full period of 1 year that was spent inside the prison. After 1 year, when Imam alayhi salam came, he needed to introduce certain rituals to make sure that Karbala is never ever forgotten. He needed to make sure that he established his position of imamat. He also needed to make sure that what happened in Karbala was never forgotten. He also needed to make sure that what happened in Karbala was taken forward in its true aspect with the spirit with which Imam Hussein alayhi salam gave his life. And he also needed to make sure that he kept in place certain rituals that will continuously develop and give the opportunity for the ummah to intellectually develop within themselves as individuals and collectively as a community. So Imam introduced, after his imamat was established, he introduced this concept of azadari that we understand today, or that has become what we know as azadari today. He introduced this azadari. He used to say to the people, you invite me to your house for wedding, I will come. Is it possible to hold a majlis? Is it possible for us to talk about what happened in Karbala while this marriage is going on? Not because Imam wanted to spoil the mood of the people, but he knew that these gatherings will allow him to make sure that he was going to bring back the memory of what actually happened there. Through that, the actual spirit of what is required for those people who understand what Imam Hussein stood for. So this azadari was introduced as a ritual in its own form, and it has evolved a lot as we see it today. And in some cases, unfortunately, it has become stagnant, totally stagnant. So there is no movement whatsoever when it comes to azadari. Imam Hussein's movement was totally evolutionary. Imam Sajjad took it from there onwards. We then brought it. So the ritual was introduced for us to use it to grow. Matam doesn't mean raising of the head and hitting on the chest. That's not what matam means. Matam actually means to express grief. Whatever way we express grief in, but an organized way of matam is raising of the hands in whatever way. And it is cultural in various areas of the world, how people do it, how they express their grief. But this was a ritual to make sure that at the end of Ashura, the message that Imam Hussein gave, the purpose for which he stood up, whatever he did is continuous and continuously developing. So let me say something. Coming to the mosque, weeping on Imam Hussein, crying for Imam Hussein, having spent so much money in making sure that the 10 days ritually are totally fulfilling to you and I, means that for you and I, for those 10 days is supposed to take us one step further. Every year it is supposed to take, and in case of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, every day we have masa'ib, every day we have to continuously evolve. But that was the purpose. Imam Hussein is here within the four walls today. So this ritual is here right now. He is within the four walls. Let's look for Imam Hussein. You will find Imam Hussein is in our marshiyas and our poems. Every Marshia book you open, there is Imam Hussein in there. Every poem regarding Karbala, you will find Imam Hussein is there. So the ritual or the practice of reciting poems for Imam Hussein was to bring that sense of awakening and carrying on, right? That is what was the reason. We stopped at recitation, we didn't move forward. He is there in Marsia, he is there in Matam. He is there in Majalises, he is there in black clothes. He is there in our black clothes. But when you come to academia, the world of academia, we find that Nelson Mandela is known more in terms of fighting for the rights of the people in the world. Mahatma Gandhi is known more than Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Although who inspires Mahatma Gandhi is Imam Hussein alayhi salam. What Mahatma Gandhi is inspired by is Imam Hussein. Yet, in the world of academia, you will find that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is less known to the world of academia than Nelson Mandela or, for example, Mahatma Gandhi. And these people are those who have been inspired by Imam alayhi salatu wasalam and his revolution and how he stood for the rights of the people. Yet he is less known than them. You know why? Because we kept Imam Hussein within the mosque. We never took him outside. So today, a true azadar, if I put this question, I don't want an answer. I think you will be able to answer this question yourselves at home, and I will answer it for myself at home. How many of us in this room, if I may ask, are members of human rights organizations? In this room as we sit down, how many of us are? 1, 2, 3, you can see, probably, are members of human rights organization. A true azadar today, in his evolutionary journey, must be heading human rights activities. Organizations of human rights activities must be headed by the azadar. Then you see that azadari, or the function or the ritual of azadari, has taken us a step further and further and further on a daily basis. Look at the 12th Imam, Hazrat Hujjah salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. So this is our vibrant past. Let us look at our future. The Prophet of Islam says, لو لم يبقى من الدنيا إلا يوم. If this world was to end and there was only one day left for it to end, لو لم يبقى من الدنيا إلا يوم لطول الله ذلك اليوم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would prolong and stretch that day حتى يبعث رجلا من عترتي, until a man from my loins and my progeny rises and is sent on earth. وهو من ولد فاطمة. He will be from the children of Fatima. اسمه يواطي اسمي. His name will be my name. ويملأ الأرض قسطا وعدلا كما ملئت ظلما وجورا. He will fill this earth with total peace and adalat and justice, just like it will have been filled with tyranny and oppression. So this is what the Holy Prophet of Islam says. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Allah makes a promise to those who are believers amongst you and doers of good deeds. لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. That He is going to establish those believers and doers of good deeds on earth just like He established some before them. لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَيُمَكِّنَنَّهُمْ دِينَهُمُ الَّذِي ارْتَضَى لَهُمْ. And Allah is going to make it possible for them to follow the religion that He has approved for them. وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. And He is going to change the state of the ummah, the state of the Muslim people, the state of the world, into total state of peace and tranquility, and eliminate fear. وَلَيُبَدِّلَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ خَوْفِهِمْ أَمْنًا. The world will be such, يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا. The entire world will be worshipping me, and there will be none who will associate anyone with me. So this is the verse, this is the utopia, this is the ideal state that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks from the Quran. So my future has already been told to me by Quran that this ideal state is supposed to come for believers and doers of good deeds. And apart from this ideal state, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to make it possible for us to be and remain in the state of peace. And then we have many rituals that have been introduced to be able to get there. So the vision is there, drawn for us, and then there are rituals for us to step on and use those rituals to get there, and not use the rituals to remain there. So take an example. When the 12th Imam alayhi salam went into Ghaibat Sughra, 260 after Hijrah, when he went into minor occultation, the Muslim world again came in the state of chaos. Again, the Shia community was in the state of chaos. What the ahadith that were there was saying that Imam is going to come very soon. That was the ahadith. The ahadith was saying very soon the Imam will reappear. So people were paying religious dues. People were paying khums money. Scholars were receiving khums money. But what do you do with them? At that time, they used to bury them. They used to dig holes and bury them, safeguarding this khums money, these religious dues. They used to put them inside. Wait that when the Imam comes, inshallah, we will present it to him and give it to him. They started to rot inside. The money started to rot. The community realized that maybe this soon is not very soon. He has not made his reappearance. So the scholars then sat down and thought about it. And they realized that maybe in our very inadequate and insignificant and restricted way, we may be able to play the role that Imam alayhi salam would have played with that money. So we need to build roads, we need to construct mosques, places of worship, we need to assist poor people, and therefore the religious dues were used at that time. Think about how this thinking shifted. When the realization came, the thinking shifted, and it continuously evolved, and today it is what it is. So this is what was happening. Today, the seventh Imam, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far salawatullahi wa salamu alayh, when he used to mention the name of the Qa'im of Ali Muhammad, he used to stand up and place his hand on his head like this. And that's what we do. Today, that is what we do. Why? We don't know, but we do it. We've never thought about it sometimes, or at least I haven't thought about it, but we just do it because Imam alayhi salam did it. Was it, if I ask myself a question, why am I doing it? I will say I do it because my master, the Lord of the age is alive and he must be respected. So this is now interpreted as the respect of the 12th Imam. If it is for the purposes of respect, then the one who is most worthy of respect is none other than the Holy Prophet of Islam himself. So when I say Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, I'm not doing this. Or when the ziyarat of Imam Husseini is being recited, some of us raise our finger and point towards the Qibla and we say Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdillah. Why we do it? I don't know, probably. But we do it because, so whatever was introduced, it had a reason. Whatever was introduced was supposed to take us towards that vision, whatever the vision was, whatever the vision is. What we did was we remained there. So this ritual of holding the head when the 12th Imam alayhi salatu wasalam comes was introduced not because of respect, not because of ihtiram, not because of any other purpose, was to express within myself the state of readiness to say, my master, call upon me and I am present to whatever command you have for me. So I am continuously supposed to remind myself as the name of the Imam comes that I am supposed to be the one who will assist the cause of Imam. Master, call upon me. The poet says in Urdu that the status quo is Gale milo sab, durud padkar, hasad ki diwar tod dalo. The poet in Urdu said, embrace each other, gale milo sab, durood padhkar recite the salawat, durood padhkar hasad ki diwar tod dalo. Break the walls of jealousy amongst yourself. Gale milo sab, durood padhkar hasad ki diwar tod dalo. Why? Dilon mein bughz hasad raha to Hussein ka gham kahan rahega. If you have jealousy in your heart, then where are you going to place the love of Hussein alayhi salam? Dilon mein bughz hasad raha to Hussein ka gham kahan rahega. And then he says the status quo is labon pe ghibat, dilon mein nafrat, farebi aankhein, makan ghasbi, बुला रहे हो जिसे बताओ वो आ गया तो कहाँ रहेगा. He says, this is our status quo. Labon pe ghibat, we backbite. Dilon mein nafrat, we hate each other. Farebi aankhein, our eyes are deceiving. Makan ghasbi, the houses we live in are all usurped houses. He says, and then we call upon the 12th Imam to come. So the poet says, if he does come, is there an environment for him to find a suitable environment? No. So the vision is there given to us. What we are supposed to do is work towards that vision of peace and tranquility. If I am dreaming and I am under the illusion that the Imam will make his reappearance and he will just make his and the entire world by a click of a finger is going to be his believers, then it is an illusion that I have. It is a dream that I have. It doesn't happen. Our responsibility in the state of intidhar is to make sure that we create a path, we contribute to bring about a society in which Imam alayhi salatu wasalam will make his reappearance. That is the responsibility. So the vision is there. We must evolve towards that particular state of utopia, that particular state of the ideal world, because otherwise it becomes a stagnant ritual and nothing more than a stagnant ritual. So holding of the hands is readiness, showing readiness. State of taqwa is being God consciousness, is an inner state of being with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayh in Nahjul Balagha talks about this whole concept of taqwa. But inshallah some other time we will speak. This inner state of a human being, this state of God consciousness is a state in which you and I are supposed to be in, where every aspect of our existence is something in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching us. So, as a community and as individuals, the message in this talk this evening is for us to make sure that we continuously try our level best to go towards the vision that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown us on a daily basis in every aspect of our existence, to make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us in every development of ours. Imam Sajjad introduced this whole Sahifa Sajjadiyah. In this Sahifa Sajjadiyah, just take dua of Makarimul Akhlaq, nothing else. Just dua of Makarimul Akhlaq. We read it on the 23rd night of the holy month of Ramadan, and that's it. Because ritually, because practice, because we are supposed to, somebody has written that we should recite it on the 23rd night, and therefore it is just recited on the 23rd night. But if every letter of the dua was to be understood, comprehended, fathomed, then on a daily basis, Allahumma, in that dua, my Lord, albisni zinat al-muttaqeen, adorn me with the clothing of the people of taqwa. What clothing? Adorn me with your consciousness, my Lord. How does it happen? Not by reciting the dua, but practical understanding of what it means. So this is what we are supposed to do. Otherwise, a ritual remains a ritual. It stagnates us. We are supposed to move through this ritual to be able to reach and the proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Imam Hussein does in Karbala. He, having done whatever, having gone through whatever he went through that afternoon, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam reaches a point where there is no Asghar anymore. There is no Qasim. He looks towards his left and he gets a reflection that this boy of mine, the son of my brother Hassan, was trampled under the hoofs of the horses. It reminds him, there is a riwayat that says that every shaheed that fell from the horse, every shaheed that was about to lose his life, or that was overwhelmed by the people, every shaheed called upon Imam Hussein for help. When Habib ibn Madahir fell from the horse, he screamed and said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah adrikni. O Aba Abdullah, come to my aid. When Muslim ibn Awsajat did, he called upon Imam. All of them called upon Imam. When the time for Banu Hashim came, Aun and Muhammad were very young. But when they fell, Wa Ammah adrikna. O uncle, come to our assistance. And Imam went. And they all called him once. When Ali Akbar fell from the horse, he said, Father, Ya Abata, Assalamu alayka ya Abata. He did not call upon Imam to come for his aid. He just sent his salutations. And he said to Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, my final salams to you, O Father. Other than him, they called him again and again. Except regarding Qasim, it is said that Qasim was one shaheed who called upon Imam Hussein again and again and again. And he repeated calling Imam alayhi salatu wasalam again and again. You know why? The historians say every time the hoof of the horse hit a part of the body of Imam of Shah Qasim, he shouted and said, oh my uncle, come to my aid. But Ali Akbar did not call because he did not want his father probably to see the state. With regard to Ali Akbar, there is a poet in Iran who has written a poetry, an imaginary poetry regarding Imam Hussein. We have a riwayat that says when Ali Akbar came back from the battlefield for the first time and he spoke to his father, he said, Father, this armor has weighed me down. He didn't say anything more. He said, this armor has weighed me down. And then Ali Akbar said to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, if I had a few drops of water, you would see what I can do to these people. I am thirsty in the sense that I have not had water for 3 days. Father, if only a few drops of water I had. So the poet in his imagination says that I failed to understand that Ali Akbar was 18 years old or older. On what basis he knew Imam Hussein did not have water? Why was he trying to embarrass his father, Imam Hussein, by asking for water? So the poet says that I read and I tried to understand why would an 18-year-old son want to embarrass his father who did not have water? We have a riwayat in which we say Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, son, why don't you put your tongue into my tongue? He removes his tongue and says, oh my father, lisanuka aybasu min lisani. Your tongue is drier than my tongue. Imam Hussein gives him a ring. But the poet says, I fail to understand why would an 18-year-old son was an adult. Why would he want to embarrass his father? But then he writes in his poem, he says, I understand it this way, that he knew that this was the last time he was going to see his father, and he wanted to kiss the lips of his father and bid farewell to him. So for the sake of asking for water, he got the opportunity to kiss the face of him. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. إلهي بحق زهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها وسر المستودع فيها، اللهم أدخل على أهل القبور السرور، اللهم أغني كل فقير، اللهم أشبع كل جائع، اللهم اكس كل عريان، اللهم اقض دين كل مدين، اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب، اللهم رد كل غريب، اللهم فك كل أسير، اللهم أصلح كل فاسد من أمور المسلمين، اللهم اشف كل مريض، اللهم سد فقرنا بغناك، اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك، اللهم اقض عنا الدين وأغننا من الفقر، إنك على كل شيء قدير. رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة.